So let's call the July 14th meeting to order. Raymond, will you do roll call and read the perfunctory intro?
Yes, ma'am. Raymond Tejas, Executive Director of the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority, at the July 14th meeting at 10:01 a.m. Roll call: Joyce Wilson.
Here.
Jim Smith.
Here.
Jim, I think we've got some feedback on you. Robert, can you help with that?
Jim, can you mute the audio on your computer?
I did.
So you'll need to mute the microphone and the sound itself.
Okay, hang on. All right, how about now?
Perfect, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Patrick Byrne. Patrick Byrne. Dorothy Bird.
Present.
Nicholas Lamantilla has let us know that he won't be making it today. Marcos Zaragoza won't make it as well. Silvestre Reyes.
Here.
Thank you. So we have a quorum of 4. So let me read into the record the COVID-19 notices. Pursuant to the suspension of certain open meetings laws by Governor Greg Abbott, this CRRMA board meeting is being held by video and telephone conference. In accordance with the various federal, state, and local orders, the public may participate in the meeting using the video link or telephone conference information found on the CRRMA's website and on the posted agenda. This meeting is also being recorded and will be made available on the CRRMA's website as soon as possible after conclusion of the meeting. During the meeting, each board member making a motion or a second should state who made each. The chair will then call for those in favor, against, or abstaining. The public is invited to participate in the meeting just as with all CRRMA meetings. If you're interested in asking a question or providing a comment, please submit a comment in the chat function of the video component or ask to be recognized by phone. If there are no questions from the board, we are ready to begin with the chair reading item 2 into the record.
Are there any public comments, Raymond?
No, ma'am, we haven't received any.
Okay, then I will move to item 2, adoption of the minutes of the board meeting of June 9th, 2021. Has everyone had a chance to review them?
Yes.
And if so, if there are no amendments, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Jim, I move to approve.
Sissy Bird, I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Motion passes. Item 3 is presentation, discussion, and action on an update from the El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization regarding the Regional Mobility Strategy 2020. I see Mr. Calvo is here. I want to thank you for joining us today.
Good morning.
So will you be taking over at this point?
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
Let me share my screen here and go to this. And Raymond, just let me know if you can see this full screen.
Yes, we're good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, good morning, Madam Chair, board members. Thank you very much for the invitation to talk about this. I'm going to give you a brief update on the Regional Mobility Strategy 2020 projects and some really interesting developments that have happened in the last few days that have to do with TxDOT unveiling the draft fiscal year 22 Unified Transportation Program, which is really what TxDOT uses to identify funding for projects for the next 10 years. Right now, starting on Friday of last week, there's a public comment period, which is very relevant to the comments that we're going to be making here. And again, at some point, I will ask if RMA would provide some comments regarding the UTP, and of course, Q&A afterwards. So starting with the update, this is a map of all the projects that are included in RMS 2020. I think you've seen this map before, but this plan, the strategic plan, was approved by the policy board in December of 2019. And since then, we've been working on all of these different projects that you see here on this table. Well, you probably can't see that, but the the whole intent is to have projects throughout the region, and both, freeway expansion projects, but we also were able to get projects that are very important for all of the different communities that are part of the MPO. So there was a little bit of everything for everybody. Some people called it spreading the peanut butter, but that was, I think, a very important thing to make sure that everybody got behind this plan, and to help us identify the key priority projects that were not funded. Those are the ones that are on the top, which are the mostly. Well, let me go through them really fast. The Borderland Expressway, formerly known as the Northeast Parkway. There's some good news in this UTP that we were able to find funding for phase 1, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But also there on the third or the fourth row, you see $4 million for I-10 segment 2, which is really the key of the comments that I want to make today. And then some other minor changes, the fact that the city of El Paso contributed $30 million to a project on I-10 on the west side, the widening there. I was reminded that by Robert Studer earlier that it's not the full 30 million that goes into the project. There's a little bit of that the RMA keeps here for managing the SIB loan and all that, which by the way was a great thing that we were able to work with the RMA, with the city, and get that $30 million SIB loan into that project, which allowed us to pull $30 million of Category 2 funding for other projects. So what you see there in yellow are the proposed changes that are part of this fiscal year 22 UTP. These changes have not gone to the MPO policy board. Again, it's a question of the chicken or the egg. First we need to have these changes approved by TxDOT's commission in the UTP, and then we'll make the changes. But we feel very, very comfortable because putting money on Borderland Expressway phase 1 is that's one of the big priority projects that the board has identified as well. So the next two slides show progress of all individual projects. I think it's important to note, and Raymond, please jump in here, the fact that the RMA will be participating in some of these projects, assisting, for example, the city of Socorro with the Old Hueco Tanks extension project, providing some assistance, I believe, for right-of-way acquisition, and also later on with the funding formula, given that there's a TRZ involved in there as well. So and I think you're also going to be participating with the village of Vinton on their what's the name of the project? Forgot.
Valley Chili
Road, right?
Yes, sir.
So anyway, so excited about that. So now let me jump into the TxDOT fiscal year 22 UTP. This presentation, I extracted some slides of the presentation they used at the public meeting, which happened a week ago on July 7th. I'll go through these very quickly so we can get to the meat of the remarks that I'm making today. All right, so the public comment period for the UTP started on Friday and ends on August the 9th. Okay, so what is a UTP? Well, basically it's a 10-year plan. It's not a budget, TxDOT, stresses that. But if the key here is that if a project appears on the UTP, there is a high likelihood that the project will be funded, right? It's not a guarantee, but it's very likely. And there's a lot of stuff here. So for this year's UTP, just to give you a ballpark idea of the magnitude, the whole thing identifies $74 billion worth of funding for the next 10 years. The funding is distributed to the regions and MPOs and all that through 12 funding categories that are distributed there in that chart. But the key here is look at the bottom category 12, the bottom row, strategic priority. That's always been the key funding pot for big ticket items, for big projects like the ones we have in El Paso that are looking for funding. This is a pot of money where the commission selects projects, priority projects that they consider for the state of Texas for whatever reason. And so, all of us are always, keeping track of what projects are funded with Category 12. Here's how the funding is distributed among the 25 TxDOT districts. You see that out of the 74 billion, right now the draft identifies 1.7 billion for El Paso. You can see some things that I necessarily like, in the sense that some of the rural districts are getting equal or more money than we are, but there's a formula for many of these funding categories, and I don't think the commission really cares what I think, right? But this is what it is. So let's get to the what is interesting about this UTP. At the public meeting, and as part of the presentation, the commission is sending a message to the public about two specific projects. In other words, two projects were highlighted or identified where they are asking the public to provide comments. One is the I-45 project in Houston, which is a massive project that is the subject of a lot of controversy right now. And you can see here in this slide the composition of the funding. It's a $7+ billion project, has a lot of different categories in there, but this project itself is affecting us at the state level. And we I hate to get into the weeds, but this is really what is delaying the statewide transportation improvement program, the STIP, the approval at the state level. Okay, it's so big that because of the controversy and all that, it's delaying the approval of the STIP. But what is also interesting is that the commission is going back and asking the public, do you support maintaining this project and the funding as proposed, or remove the funding and the project, right? So it's I had never seen that before, that the commission highlights a project to this level and saying, hey, public, do you like this or not? Okay, well, it's such a controversial project, and so of course, when we look at the amount of money that could be freed up, wearing my very selfish MPO director hat, I said, well, maybe we can get a piece of that for our projects here, right? Then the second project that was highlighted as part of the presentation is our project here in El Paso. This came as a complete and total surprise. And the question that they're asking the public again is, are you in support of the project and adding the funding, and I'll get to that in the next slide, or not adding the proposed funding? Okay, so again, it's an open-ended question to the public. Well, we want to hear from you.
Eduardo,
So here's, I'm sorry?
this is Silvestre.
Yes, sir.
I was curious, what the nature of the controversy? Is it just it's a massive project, that multi-year project? What is the controversy?
You mean in the Houston project?
In the Houston, yes, the one that you
Yeah, well, as you can see here in the map, it's a massive project, very long, along I-45. And there has been, even though the NEPA document has been approved and completed, where you look at all types of impacts and all that, there have been some concerns by some elected officials there in Harris County about Title VI, environmental justice, and stuff like that. So, I mean, that has grown into a major controversy. So the Federal Highway Administration has asked TxDOT to delay moving forward with the project, even though the NEPA document has been approved. And so, I can't tell you all the details about this, but the controversy has to do with some environmental justice issues, the project having some impacts during the construction and long-term impacts. But as we know, those of us that have been in transportation for so long, any big project has controversy. I mean, it comes with the business, right? But it's just a matter of addressing the real concerns that people may have. Do it, early and to make sure that you don't get into this point where the project is almost ready to go to construction, and now you're in the middle of a controversy. Right. So then back to our El Paso project. Again, the commission is asking us the question. So what you see in this slide was a total and complete surprise to us because I had not seen this. And so when they unveiled this in the public meeting, it was very surprising. So the good news is that, yeah, the I-10 project, downtown 10, which is also called segment 2, which you see here in the map. The good news is that now it's proposed to be in the UTP, but the commission is only putting $4 million, right? It's a $750 million project, but the commission is saying, well, we'll chip in 4 for now, right? But the interesting part is that they said, okay, well, this is what appears in the UTP, but we will raise it to, adding 13 more million of category 4 and 4.9 of cat 11 and 40 million of category 12. And which still would leave a gap of $688 million. The kicker here is what they're saying here. El Paso MPO commits to work with TxDOT on the following actions for the 2023 UTP, in other words, for next year, to fill the gap. In other words, the 688, which all of these 3 bullets that you see here, the dollar amounts add up to the 688.6, right? But each individual bullet means that we would dedicate all of our funding here for the next 10 years, pretty much, to the 688 million, right? So basically the commission is saying, we're offering 4, but we will give you another, up to 61.9, let's say, call it 62, if you commit to work and reprioritize all of these projects. So keep this number 689 in mind. So we went back. Oh, okay, well, that's the end of the presentation.
Eduardo,
Yes.
how does that impact the Northeast project, the truck cycles?
It definitely delays the project by at least 10 years. Because what the commission is asking us is to put every penny that we have for the next 10 years to the I-10 project in exchange for $62 million, which is what you see here. And pretty much, give up the farm, which is not, I don't think it's a very reasonable proposal, right? Let me jump to that analysis here. So the 688 million, and the numbers here don't match exactly because of rounding errors and all that. So we said, okay, well, what does it mean for us to reprioritize or put the unfunded balances? What they're asking us to do here to come up with 687. Well, this table right here shows the current construction program for TxDOT, right? For the projects that are identified in the UTP. So we have the I-10 widening project that is scheduled for letting next year. We have downtown 10 with 4 million of category 4. And then we have these 2 projects in blue, which are currently funded with category 12. The commission awarded that money. And then the ones here in yellow are the ones that are funded with different categories, right? So this today is our project, right? And here you see here the Borderland Expressway Phase 1. It's included now in the construction job. However, you see that the amount, the category 12 money that adds up to 2010 clearly is one of the bullets. So they're saying, we'll pull out the money for these projects that are currently funded, and so you can put it on I-10. Then what you see here in yellow, in other words, the sum of all the projects here in yellow make up the 283. Furthermore, for categories 5 and 7, which are the ones that we have been using to fund local government projects, you know, for the city, for the county, for Vinton, for Socorro, and all that, they're asking us to commit the funding, all of it from 26 to 31, 6 years worth of funding. That adds up to 193, and that's the amount here. So basically what they're asking us is delay everything and put all your money here, and in exchange for $61 million. So that's what again, it was very surprising and caught us off guard. But going back to being right now the public comment period for this, there, you know, we are supposed to comment, right? So, you know, as an MPO, and as a, I mean, I still haven't discussed this with our policy board yet because this happened last week and we're starting the process, but I don't think you need to be an expert here to understand that the proposal that TxDOT is giving us is not very good, to say the least, right? So let me go back to this, right? So what I think we really should do is you know, work with them and again, you know, keep the 4 million. I mean, I don't think that this proposal is you know, makes a lot of sense for us. And then yeah, commit to working with TxDOT to finding the remaining, the balance of 646 for next year's UTP, right? Yeah, I mean, of course, you know, we will commit to work, but not to give up the farm, right? You know, we're not. Now we have in working, you know, verbally with the TxDOT district, we have identified some of the projects that could be delayed, but certainly not the entire program. So right now, because this caught us completely by surprise, you know, we're working on it and we're trying to, you know, craft the best response. But we wanted to make sure that everybody, all of the partners here locally were aware of this proposal so that, you know, we could continue speaking with one voice, right? And so that's why I thought it was very timely for you know, for the invitation that you extended to me to talk about RMS 2020. Well, you know, I'm taking this opportunity to brief you all and make you aware that the public comment period is going on right now. And I would certainly, you know, would like to see a comment also coming from the CRRMA, you know, either in for or against the proposal that TxDOT is making. So with that, Raymond, I'm not sure how we are with time, but I think I covered what I really wanted to cover, and happy to answer any questions here.
Eduardo?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible for you to make your PowerPoint available so that everybody can get it, so they can look at all the kind of projects in the ARS plan?
Absolutely.
That one page was kind of small, so it was really hard to dig into the detail, but I think it'd be really useful if we could just have it for our own reference, because we have some newer board members now.
Absolutely, and yeah, Raymond has a presentation, and that was my bad. I sent it late yesterday, so it you know, there was no time to distribute it. But again, you know, this is happening so quickly that. But I do apologize for not sending it earlier. But no, absolutely.
Oh, no, that's fine. I mean, I didn't expect it. It just would be good if we could have access to it for like reference.
Absolutely.
So we can discuss things. And since the comment period, I don't know that we're going to have a meeting before the comment period ends, are we, Raymond?
No, ma'am. So
Yeah.
a couple of things. First, this PowerPoint is now included in your backup folder, so you have access to it.
Okay, thanks.
And then, as to your comment about submitting comments from the RMA. We will not have a board meeting between now and when those comments are due. However, if you'd like to entertain a motion authorizing me to work with Eduardo and with our partners here in the region to develop a comment and have it submitted by either yourself or as the chair or me as the executive director, I think that might be a way to go, so that whatever we work with Eduardo will match what the rest of the region is saying, and hopefully continue with that one voice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say anything inconsistent with the rest of the region. I find it hard to believe that there would be support to give up 10 years of funding, or how many years you're talking about for everything. I guess my other question is, have they asked this of other regions? I mean, is this like a normal ask? We'll give you 17 million and you got to come up with 680 million for one project, which is really a project of national interest. I mean, I-10's a national
Right.
east-west corridor along the border that has a lot of truck freight. I would like just to say that we want to be supportive and we want to be useful as an entity. If there are opportunities to explore alternative funding where we could be a partner in helping to finance things to defer, say that it's paid over time, like we have with some of the
Right.
other projects, that we would be happy to participate in that respect. And even if they're willing to look at like 50-50, we look at our funding and like maybe take 50% and they chip in another 50% or something like that. Might be a strategy. Not that I'm recommending it. I just think that this is like dead on arrival. And
Right.
it's going to create a lot of controversy because there's a lot of people that want this I-10 project that would be willing to sacrifice everything for it. But I mean, the region has other priorities too.
Absolutely. And one thing that we've always known, and we are, we have been working with the textile administration. They keep saying, well, put local skin in the game, and I get it. And local skin in the game means putting some of our funding that is allocated to the region by formula. And that's why we've been working and trying to identify which projects can be pushed back that make sense, so that we can dedicate some of that funding there. But there's no formula for how much is enough, right? Local skin in the game, is it 10% of the project? Is it 20? Is it 50? In this case, it's they're asking us, 688 of 750, it's, I don't know, 90% or 85%, that's too much, right? The answer to your first question is, have they asked this same thing from other regions? Give up your program for 10 years? I doubt it, right? You saw the dollar amounts for I-45. It's huge, but Houston has a huge a construction program, right? So they're not. Do you think that they would give up their construction program for I-45, even though I-45 is their priority project at this time? The answer is no. I-35 in Austin, right? The last year the commission awarded $3.5 billion to that project on I-35. Well, their MPO, Campo, the MPO in the Austin region, yeah, they gave up something, but they gave up something like 600 million of their program to receive, 3.5, right? So there's no formula, but they certainly did not ask Austin to give up their entire program just to receive funding for I-35. So,
Mr. Reyes, I think you've been trying to say something. I apologize.
Yes, let's not forget that we've got legislation pending on infrastructure right now in Congress that will, in some manner, is going to pass from what I'm hearing from some of my former colleagues. And to me, it's curious that we would be handed a deal like this, and it happens to the border more often than not, that we are forced to play under different rules than the rest of Texas. And so I would ask us to be very cautious about being rushed to make a suicide pact, because that's what this is. And I'm not familiar with who we can ask or who would be responsible to do an analysis of, this just got dumped on us last week, and the comment period, I don't think is going to help us in any way. But maybe Raymond, would you be responsible in doing an analysis, and maybe you and Eduardo, or who would be able to look into these? Because, I just wrote a number of questions here about how we would ask to be treated fairly in this rush to having us decide all or nothing for one project. And by the way, that project was made known to, at least I didn't know about it until recently, and most people that have talked to me about it uh, did not. And it is a good project. It is something that's worthwhile that we consider. But we're gonna get shafted out of money from the legislation that's currently being uh, to in Congress, simply because we make a deal or accept a deal text that is, from my viewpoint, it's crazy, it's ludicrous that they would do this, or try to force us to do this. Whatever we need to do, we need to circle the wagons and make sure that we know what's being done in the rest of Texas, and what the game plan may be. Because I guarantee you, TxDOT and the governor's administration uh, are looking at what the potential is for that infrastructure bill that's coming down the pike, to make commitments, possibly to the 45 project, and maybe others, the Austin one. I mean, when I first got to Congress, uh, I had a study committed to to compare what was the difference between a dollar spent on the border versus whatever the equivalent was spent in the rest of Texas. And we found out, for a dollar spent in Texas, the border was getting something like 17 cents. And we're being forced to accept deals uh, like Eduardo just mentioned to us. So I smell a rat, and I need to ask us to, let's look for where that rat is, and find out how we can ask for parity at the very minimum. I'd like Jim to comment, because he's been part of this since I first got to Congress. And
Joyce, can you hear me okay?
Mhm.
Yeah, this is Jim. I would like to propose, I'm totally in sync with Sylvester. I mean, and I would like to propose, Sylvester and I and Mr. Zaragoza are on the planning committee, and this goes, it just wipes out everything that we've been looking at for the future and for the RMA. And with your permission, I would like to get the planning committee to work with Raymond, and to start putting together some response for the RMA and present to you for your approval, whether or not you think we need to maybe have a special meeting to approve it by the whole board. But Sylvester's comments are right on, and I almost feel that this is so far out that that is kind of a just a wake-up call for us as a region, our RMA and our MPO to get our act together and to come up with a reasonable plan of one sort or another. And Sylvester and I have talked here, you know, offline, looking at how we can start using the power of the RMA to reach out and get more things done, and looking at things like the infrastructure bill, looking at things like partnering with New Mexico, looking at a wide variety of things to really improve the region. And so this may just be a little a spark to get us to maybe take a stronger initiative, working with the MPO, making sure our voice is heard, and that the TPB hears our voice, and as an RMA, and kind of like what some of our vision is for the future. So with your permission, Madam Chair, I would propose that the planning committee sit down with Raymond and try to forge together a proposal for you to put forth as our input to the public comment.
I'm fine with that, and I'd like to have Eduardo included in those meetings so
Oh, for
that
sure.
he can give some insight as well in terms of information about sort of like how other MPOs are faring in this process in terms of
Yep.
skin in the game. I think we just need to find some methodology. What is reasonable for local skin in the game? You know, so that we have so we have some kind of baseline to say from an equity perspective, if this is what you're asking of other regions, then this is all you should be asking of us as well. And that and as important as this project is and as expensive it's going to be, there's a national interest in this project that extends beyond our region, and we shouldn't have to be shouldering like 95% of the cost of it at the expense of everything else. And if nothing else, maybe we recommend or suggest that if out of this infrastructure bill, that, you know, some of that money, that this project have a higher priority for those funds in 2023 or something, you know what I mean? Because also remember, there's this other piece of that I-10 project that I'm not sure is in this money, and that's that capping it. Is that in this cost?
No. This is the deck project is separate from this and would be funded separately. This is
But are
only
the bridges and the capping in it? Covering it up? That's not, is that in this price, just the cover?
no.
Yeah, see, that's a whole nother issue that
Right.
is kind of out there too, so.
Right. Madam Chair,
I'm happy if you all want to work on it, and then part of it is talk about like what are some of the alternate financing mechanisms that might be brought to bear too to help move this project forward while not sacrificing everything else.
right. Madam Chair, if I could just add a little perspective here as well. Again, it was a surprise that to see all this, coming out in this fiscal year 22 UTP. I was ready for our project of the I-10 not to be in the UTP, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I was, getting ready for that, but that outcome is not necessarily a bad outcome. Of course, I would love to see it fully funded, right? Or at least with a good chunk,
Mm-hmm.
the sooner the better, right? But given that the project is moving forward and, we're still at least 2 years away from being able to start construction, right? So we still have a good chance at next year's UTP. And so it not having the project and the UTP to me is not a showstopper. It's not a fatal flaw or anything by no means, right? What it does is that it gives us the opportunity to continue working with TxDOT, right?
Mm-hmm.
And finding the funding, and we're going to do that anyways, right? As Colonel Smith was saying, we will continue looking for alternative funding, innovative funding, and so on. Yes, work with the local TxDOT office to see what we can delay that makes sense. Projects that may not be high priority. Yeah, we can push them out. Something reasonable. And plus the other thing is the federal reauthorization bill. That in this coming year, it will be signed, right? Who knows what it's going to look like at the end, right? But it is likely that everybody's going to get a little more money, right? Hopefully a lot, but at least a little money. Well, that little money, I don't know, does that mean 100, 200, 300, $500 million for us in El Paso? Who knows? But that comes into play, right, in this next year. So I'm still very optimistic that we'll be able to work with the administration and find something reasonable to fund not only the I-10 project, but also to complete the funding for the Borderland Expressway and continue working on our construction program that has very important projects like, Montana Avenue. I mean, that phase 2, which is part of the program, is a very important project, right? I don't want to give that away. But it's not that I don't want, but it's a priority project for the region, right? So I'm very optimistic that we will be able to work with the administration this coming year. Many things can happen and really target the fiscal year 23 UTP to get this project in there. And in the meantime, of course, they're asking for comments. Well, TxDOT was the one that put this out in the public meeting. Well, now we need to respond as part of the public, comment process, right? And I think our response is, well, at least what I'm thinking is that, well, this proposal really doesn't make a lot of sense. So no, thank you, but we will continue working with you all because this is still our priority projects.
Yeah, I think we should be as positive as we can that we're happy to see it in the 22 UTP, and it is a priority project. Our concern is that the local contribution is excessive for a project of this magnitude. It has a much broader national implication, and that we want to make sure that there's parity with regard to the local expectations here, similar to what it is elsewhere for projects like this around the state. And I think that's the focus should be that way, and that we want to work with you to ensure that we're treated fairly and that we make a fair contribution, and that we also then consider and take advantage of any like federal dollars that might be coming in that could maybe be directed toward this project, so we don't have to sacrifice so many others or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that is, I mean, what Joyce just said there, that's very well said. That's almost exactly what our response as the RMA should look like. A positive tone to it, but don't ask us to just, like Sylvester said, commit suicide here for everything that we want to do regionally in the area, just because we believe in this, which it's very important. But so I tell, thank God this is on tape because this is, what Joyce just said is just a huge part of what I think our position ought to be on the RMA.
Okay,
can I add one thing, Madam Chair?
Sure.
We have a powerful ally in the Army here, because for years the concern has been that we've only got the interstate system provides the ability of the military to move quickly to either the West Coast or the Gulf or the East Coast, and the lack of having an alternative. For instance, when that truck hit downtown and brought the interstate to a standstill because of the threat that it might collapse, we didn't have any alternative except Trans Mountain, which was, from the military perspective, unacceptable because of its vulnerabilities, that slow moving traffic through there that could be compromised a number of ways. So I would recommend, Jim and Madam Chair, that we reach out to the commanding general and seek support and maybe partnership, because this can address on a national scale, not just protecting our region by having that borderland expressway, but most importantly, put a marker down uh, in terms of whatever the infrastructure bill is going to look like, because they will give priority to national security concerns. And we are right in the middle of one of the biggest concerns that has been there for literally over a decade.
All right, thank you. That's actually a good idea. So is everyone in consensus? We'll just let the planning committee work on this and include the MPO in those dialogues so that we're all kind of in harmony with what we want our position to be. Are you okay with that, Ms. Bird?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I don't know that there's any other we don't need to take a formal vote on that, do we? We can just refer it to the committee.
No, that part doesn't need a motion, but I would request a motion to authorize you to sign the letter that results from those activities.
Okay, well, then if everyone's okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Jim, I so move.
I
I
second.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, great. And what'll happen is if I have any concerns about it, or if I'm not comfortable signing it without caucusing, I'll ask that we call a real quick special meeting, okay? Or I'll ask Eduardo to ask TxDOT to give us 2 days to our meeting so that we can like formalize our statement. I'm sure they would do that. But let's hope, I mean, I'll rely on you all to get it together so that if we need to meet real quickly, we have the sufficient time to like post it so that we don't run into open meetings issues, okay?
Sure.
I have a question.
Yes.
And this will be submitted by the 9th of August, or when does the deadline for this to be submitted?
Yes, ma'am. August 9th.
It has to be
August 9th.
submitted by the 9th, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm thinking if we needed to ask for an extension, they'd probably give it to us.
And Raymond, are we precluded from meeting in person? Do we have to do
No.
it this way, or?
No, the planning committee can,
Okay.
well, we'll work through that. We'll work through that.
Yeah.
I'll get with you, you and Jim on that one, and Zaragoza, Mr. Zaragoza.
Okay.
Yeah, if
All right,
it's
because
possible, even,
that's- yeah.
Eduardo, is the MPO meeting in person at all?
No, not yet. You know, we're in the same boat as Raymond explained earlier.
Okay. I know September 1, they have to go back, so.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know why we could meet I think if the planning committee wants to meet in person, find another location. All you gotta do is take notes, just record the meeting. You don't have to use the official recording. You can just take notes and
Sure, we
post
can do
it.
that. We'll just need to make it available to the public, and that's where our hangup is, because the city of El Paso's facilities are not open to the public yet.
Yeah, but
Or
you
most-
could find an alternative facility.
We can.
If you need help with that, let me know, because the Emergence Health Network at the Chase Building, they're open. They would open for us, and
Okay,
it's accessible to the public.
sure, we can do that.
All right. All right, then let's go ahead and move on because we've got other stuff and I want to be sensitive of people's time. Thank you, Eduardo.
Thank you very much. And any questions that you have, please feel free to reach out.
Okay, we will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we're going to move on to item 4, which is discussion and action on board resolutions authorizing the execution of the following instruments as they relate to the El Paso County Passenger Shelter and Sidewalk Program. A is the First Amendment to the interlocal design and construction of sidewalks with El Paso County. And B, Second Amendment to the interlocal procurement and placement of bus shelters with El Paso County.
Okay, thank you. As read into the record, both of these items relate to the Shelters and Sidewalks program. As a brief reminder, this is a program that we have partnered with El Paso County on, excuse me, And this program, what we've done is taken several funding sources from several different areas and merged them into one program, which covers, again, county bus passenger shelters and sidewalks. So from this program, then we do various design work, and now we're beginning construction under 5. You'll note item 5 is related to number 4. 4, really, the point of 4 is to amend 2 specific interlocal agreements that we have with El Paso County to accept some additional funds from them, which will allow us to complete the construction phase services noted under item 5B and 5C. So a little more into the specifics of 4. 4A deals specifically with the sidewalks interlocal, and of course, all of this is included in your backup. The original agreement on that one was for $420,000. We are adding $88,926.86 or 80 cents into that first interlocal for sidewalks under 4A. 4B then deals with shelters, and we are adding through this amendment $94,712.96. So that's what you see under item 4. And again, 4 is adding the funds that we are able then to use under items 5B and 5C. I noticed from the attendee list, we do have Sal Alonso from El Paso County. Should you have any questions, this has been reviewed by El Paso County staff, and I believe is scheduled for Commissioner's Court in about a week and a half. So subject to your questions, I would recommend approval of items 4A and 4B.
If there's no questions, can I get a motion?
This Jim, I so move.
I second it, Sissy Bird.
All right, we do have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes. Moving to item 5 then, discussion and action on board resolutions authorizing the execution of the following instruments as they relate to the RMA's recent procurement for El Paso County Passenger Shelter and Sidewalk Program. A, construction contract with Hawk Construction is the lowest responsible bidder. B, amendment to work authorization number 1 with ACOM Technical Services, Inc. for construction phase services. And C, amendment to work authorization number 35 with Atkins North America, Inc. for construction oversight services.
Hi, Jason, period. Are you on the
Sorry,
CRRMA call, question mark?
Mute that person. Got it?
You did.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, apologies for that. So under item 5 then, you will recognize some of these items. 5A deals specifically with the construction activity. So let me take a step back again. 4 then provided the funding for some of these activities. 5 then deals specifically with a procurement that was awarded last month to Hawk Construction. You also authorized me to go back and negotiate an agreement with the lowest responsible bidder, which is Hawk Construction. So as part of your board backup, we've got the construction agreement under 5A. 5B then, and you'll remember these, the way that we lay these out. Whenever we have a construction contract for design service, for design work that we've designed, we then have an amendment to the work authorization for the designer of record. And in this case, that was AECOM, who provided all the design services for the work that's to be done by Hawk. So under 5B, then you see an amendment to their work authorization, which adds a little over $19,000 to provide design services during construction as the engineer of record. And then lastly, again, you'll recognize this. We also amend the work authorization with our general engineering consultant team, which is Atkins North America, for construction oversight services. That's everything from construction engineering, testing and inspection. And for that one, we've got an amendment of a little over $158,000. So collectively then, what you see under item 4 and item 5 is the county providing the additional funds necessary to complete the project, and 5 then provides us with the construction contractor, the designer of record to provide design services during construction, and our oversight folks through Atkins to provide construction oversight services. So subject to your questions then, I would recommend approval of items 5A, B, and C.
This is Jim. Just a short question there. This is just a continuation from what we did the last time, and just putting meat to all of the approval that we did the last time. and just going with Sal, that everything's in sync, that we continue to be totally in sync with the county. I know the answer to that. I just want to hear him say it.
Yes, sir, that's right. 5A completes the process that you started last month you awarded it last month to Hawk. This month, you're allowing me to sign the agreement with Hawk. And then again, B and C provide the designer of record and the engineering oversight. Mr. Alonso, I see you there. Do you have any comments to share?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Good morning. No, I have no comments. I just do want just to add to Raymond. The county is in concurrence with these last few items and item 5. So we're aware, and we've been working with the RMA and their GC for several weeks on this item. So we're all on the same page, and I do appreciate their work that they have on this. There's a lot of projects ongoing, as you may know, with the county and the CRRMA. So it's just bottom line, we have a great communication. So just wanted to share that. But no, I'm in concurrence with Raymond's statements.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Jim. It's always nice to hear you say those words, Sal, because I appreciate you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So can I entertain a motion to approve?
This is Jim, so moved.
Seconded, Sissy Bird.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6 is discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing the following actions as they relate to the CRRMA's general engineering consultant. A, execute an extension of the agreement with Atkins North America as the RMA's general engineering consultant through July 24th, 2022. And B, authorize the commencement of a procurement process for a general engineering consultant team.
Okay, so for this item, you may recall last year we did the initial extension. So going back for the benefit of the public, the Regional Mobility Authority here utilizes a general engineering consultant team, and they serve lots of different roles for us. They serve as the general engineer for us, and they provide all sorts of supplemental services as well. So what we're doing here, and actually let me take it back a bit further. So to bring this outside consultant team on board, we are required to do a procurement. That procurement, the last go round, resulted in an agreement for the 5-year term and 2 1-year options to extend. We've gone through the 5-year term, and now we've gone through the 1-year extension. Now we're asking for the second 1-year extension. Within that period, though, we will begin and complete a procurement process for a new general engineering consultant. Now, I should note, of course, it could very well be the one that's serving now, should they win the procurement. However, ultimately, we do have to go through these procurements periodically. So that's what we're seeking here, a motion with 2 actions. 1, to authorize the extension to allow the general engineering consultant team to continue with us, and then 2, to direct staff to begin the new procurement. And we would actually let me touch on that as well. When we do procurements for the RMA, it includes at least one more additional major step by the board. What the staff will do is develop the procurement documents. We will bring to you requested scoring criteria, what we think is important for scoring the potential the next winner, and we will bring that before the planning committee and ultimately through the board for blessing on that one. And then we will issue the procurement based on your recommendation on the scoring. And then we eventually come back for award and eventual execution of the agreement. So there are several points more that this item will come before the board, but the one that you see before you again today does 2 things. 1, authorizes extension, and then 2, authorizes staff to begin the procurement process. So with all of that being said, subject to your questions, I would recommend approval of this item as well.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
In the last paragraph of this document, the word debt, is there a reason why it's capital letters and bold?
Yes, ma'am, that's the second action. So it helps to identify the distinct actions that are being taken. Since there
Oh,
are two in this one, there's a second that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Jim, I move to approve.
I second it. Sissy Bird.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, discussion and action on an update from the CRRMA Planning Committee. Given what we talked about earlier, I'm not sure, do you want to postpone this until you have your other meeting? You want to go ahead with it?
Let me just give a couple of broad comments.
Okay.
Would you put that, points on the screen, Raymond, please, if you can?
Yes, sir. It should-
This just kind of a synopsis for you all to see of what we, just kind of when we started from our strategic planning session and our chairs set up these different committees and even though this pandemic period has really cramped our style, we have continued to work with staff and to and work on all of these different things. Our membership has changed. We now have Mr. Zaragoza and Mr. Reyes as part of the planning committee. We have done a lot of talking, both individually as well as our regularly scheduled planning committee meetings. And we provided the input to the staff, which indeed has come back to the board and a lot of these different actions that you see down here. The last thing I wanted to say is along the lines of what Sylvester said, is that we are going to start figuring ways to meet in person because there's so many important things to do, and now this TxDOT response is just all of a sudden leaped to the front burner, and so we've got a good team here. We work very carefully with the MPO, and we've worked with elements of the city and naturally with our own fantastic staff here to do a lot of things. So we're gonna get something put together for this latest TxDOT input. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we have laid groundwork with a lot of the stakeholders of the area so that we as a planning committee aren't just talking among ourselves, and everybody that we've talked to, from the MPO to TxDOT to New Mexico to whoever, they are ready and willing to provide representatives to our planning meetings to help us. And for example, just in TxDOT alone, they have offered Marty Boyd, who is their primary planner. So we have great designs for the future and what we're able to do on behalf of our board and to get actions rolling to just do bigger and better things as we go forward for our community and our region. So that's pretty much the synopsis. And like I said, we got one on the front burner, and it heats up pretty high on this response with for TxDOT. So subject to any questions, that's the planning committee's report. Do you have anything to add, Sylvester?
No. I was muted. No, I don't, Jim. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Madam
Okay,
Chair,
that
thank
was
you.
very
Subject to
helpful. You
questions.
guys seem to be doing a lot of really good work. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the next item. Can you put the agenda up for me, please? Item 8, presentation and discussion on the following third quarter reports for fiscal year 2021, the interim financial statement and budget update, the investment report, the El Paso Bike Share Program, and then general engineering consultants team use of local resources.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members. Robert Studer, Director of Finance for the CRRMA. For the record, lest you think the Finance Committee is resting on its laurels, it is also hard at work. We met on Tuesday the 6th, reviewed agenda items 8A, 8B, and 8C, the interim financial statement and budget update, the investment report, and the Sun Cycle report. Unless there's a desire for the whole board to hear those, I would just make those for notation as the committee did review them in depth.
I'm fine if no one else wants to go through them. I know the Finance Committee works really hard on these, so I'm good.
Yes, ma'am, and the Finance Committee will be meeting prior to the August board meeting to go over the FY22 budget,
Okay.
over the investment policy as we need to amend that, and then a couple other of agreements, and we'll be bringing all of those items back to the full board at the August board meeting.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And that just would leave item 8D, which is the general engineering consultant's quarterly report on their use of local resources, and that has been included as part of your backup should you have any questions. So with that, I believe that is the end of our agenda. I don't think we have anything else for you.
All right, does anyone have any other questions before we adjourn?
This is Jim. I just have one comment. Seeing Eduardo cleanly shaved was quite a shock to the system, but I mean, I'm impressed. I'm gonna get him to raise his right hand and enlist him in the Army or something.
We'll tell them. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I want to thank everybody. It was a good meeting today.
Jim, so moved.
I second.
All right, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a